Guillermo del Toro's latest film, Pinocchio, was just released on Netflix, so let's rank all of his films from worst to best. Hey everybody, my name's Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services just like Netflix. If you guys are like me, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for more up and coming content. Leave your ranking down below. How would you rank all 12 of Guillermo del Toro's films from worst to best? Coming in last place is Mimic. Mimic has all the elements of a creature feature for Guillermo del Toro. It's weird at times and it really embraces that, but this is a clear example of when a studio is so involved with the film. He was denied a final cut, which led to an average horror film. It's disappointing when studios get more involved than they need to, resulting in films that are not living up to their true potential. Del Toro even described this as a horrible experience when working on this film. The result is a really poorly edited movie and a storyline that I don't feel is fleshed out. It's creepy at times, but it feels incredibly average. You feel like there is a true story in here that could work for a Del Toro film. It's got that creepy atmosphere in the sewers of New York City, exploring these killer bugs and how they kind of evolved. It's creepy and disturbing at times, but the end result is not the best Del Toro film. Coming in 11th place is Blade 2. When Guillermo del Toro took on the Blade franchise, he did offer a bigger sequel. There is more action within this film. There's more vampires. There's more bloody moments. Some pretty good effects within here. And I actually just watched the Blade trilogy for the first time ever. So going into Blade 2, I was very curious to see how Guillermo del Toro would handle this film. I like Ron Perlman in here. His beard is a little bit of an odd choice. Wesley Snipes is so cool within the film. It has that classic early 2000s action. The CGI is a little bit outdated, but for the most part, Blade 2 is a fun film. I think the story is really thin. I thought they could have dived a little bit deeper into the vampires and this new breed that is causing havoc, and how Wesley Snipes teams up with other people to take down the other vampires. The story I didn't think had the most development. For the most part, I liked the Blade films. They are entertaining for what they were. Had a nice spin on it with the vampires, and the action was a lot of fun. Coming in 10th place is Cronos. Guillermo del Toro's first feature is a body horror film rooted in an emotional story about an elderly man who comes across a device that will grant him eternity, but at the cost of a thirst for blood. There's a lot of personal, emotional scenes surrounding this older man and his granddaughter. He didn't ask for any of this to happen to him, but he has to kind of accept it. So you immediately feel for the character, but at the same time, he loves the power that he has. Del Toro blends in this awkward sense of humor. We have Ron Perlman in here. He's appeared in many Del Toro films, but most of that humor does come from Ron Perlman, and he serves as the villain of the story as well. The body horror is disturbing at times, but also feels tamed. The film could have explored more of the device, its history, and the implications that it comes with. At times, the film does feel incredibly short when it looks at the relationship between this grandfather and granddaughter, this device and how it's controlling him, and how he has this thirst for blood and didn't want this to happen to him. Not the best Del Toro film, but a solid directorial debut for a director that has now established himself as one of the best directors. Coming in 9th place is Crimson Peak. This gothic horror film feels familiar at times, but still manages to be a solid film. The film has a slow pace in the beginning, but once Crimson Peak is introduced and character motives come into play, the film picks up and embraces its gothic, creepy story. The cast is perfect in here with Jessica Chastain, Tom Hiddleston, and Mia Wasikowska. The performances are incredibly moody within here. And it's fun to watch Jessica Chastain slowly go off the rails within this film. It uses Crimson Peak as a main character in here. The set design in here is perfect for this film. It creates that chilling atmosphere. But the end of the film wasn't a strong point, and it wasn't developed as well as I thought it should be. But it's still a unique film that utilizes this house to its advantage to have these chilling moments around every single corner. I feel like they could have done a little more with the backstory for Jessica Chastain and Tom Hiddleston's character and how it connected to Mia Wasikowska's character and that relationship that was building throughout the film. At times it feels a little bit too familiar, but it's still a fun film. Coming in 8th place is Pacific Rim. This is just a fun, entertaining movie. I enjoy the moments between the kaiju and the Jaegers, the fight sequences, the scope of it feels so big. The CGI works within here. It's thrilling at times, and that is what I loved about this film, is how intense it is in those action scenes. The human characters, I feel, are really paper thin. I don't really care much for these characters, especially Charlie Hunnam's character. I feel like he had a little bit too much to do in the film, and I just didn't feel invested to that character, especially Idris Elba. There's a lot of the characters, the human characters, that they try to throw in these emotions for them, and they tried to make them very personal, and you have to feel some kind of connection to them, but I don't think it works. Maybe it's because I'm so in love with the Jaegers and the kaiju and the fight sequences, and it's so fun that everything else just feels unnecessary to me. I mean, you have to have them in here to kind of further the human plot and everything and how the world is affected by the kaiju, but the kaiju and the Jaegers, it's so fun to watch. I'm tuning everything else out if it's not kaiju or the Jaeger. Coming in 7th place is The Devil's Backbone. This was a very captivating film by Guillermo del Toro. It's not a unsettling film. I love the story of Carlos, this young boy who arrives at an orphanage, discovers a mysterious presence there. He makes friends and enemies along the way. A well-written film with a lot of development for this young boy as he's navigating this orphanage and trying to find the right friends, or if he's going to find enemies along the way. There is some creepy imagery within there when we start to learn of this other boy that lived at the orphanage. There's also a side story going on with people that are also... When you start to look at some of the characters, it starts to get depressing, and it ends up being a dark film that's centered around children. There's a bomb in this courtyard. There's this mysterious presence. Someone's looking for gold. There's a lot of deep stories within here. And I was really impressed with The Devil's Backbone and the development for its characters in the story. I was really captivated by all of it. Like I said, I wasn't scared by this film. I did think it was gory at times, and it did offer some creepy imagery, but I was more invested in the story and the characters within here. Coming in 6th place is Hellboy. Ron Perlman kills it as Hellboy. While this may not be the best Del Toro film, it's certainly an entertaining one. I remember seeing this one in theaters and having a blast with it. Del Toro perfectly humanizes Hellboy by giving him a personality that is likable with traits that a lot of people can relate to. He loves candy, he loves cats, he has a hard time expressing his feelings for Selma Blair's character, Liz, and he just has a lot of human traits and a personality that you do like. He ends up being a very likable character within here. The makeup for all of the characters, from Doug Jones and Ron Perlman, they do a fabulous job creating that comic book feel within here. I do find the villainous plot thin and to be often repetitive. The same creature shows up multiple times and the action feels the same throughout. I wish there would have been a little more exploration to some of the minor characters in the film, like Liz. But overall, Hellboy is a fun film with a character that you just enjoy watching. I don't think the villainous plot in here is the best. I do like Hellboy 2 a lot more than this one, but I love how this film was set up for its characters and Ron Perlman's performance in here. He gives it his all as Hellboy, and that translates to a really fun film with a character that you're easily on board with and seeing the world that is set up around Hellboy. Coming in 5th place is Nightmare Alley. This Best Picture nomination feels too long, but it's still a worthy film. It's a beautifully directed film that allows for its themes of power, loss, and control to take over. Bradley Cooper gives a really good performance in here. The film is really split up into two films and two separate performances. In the first part of the movie, Bradley Cooper is understanding what it takes to work at this carnival and kind of just soaking in everybody's abilities, and he's just kind of in the background, very quiet performance. And as he starts to learn a little more, that's when he starts to open up, and that's the result of the second half of the film when he has his own show. He's a lot more demanding and controlling to Rooney Mara's character performances are really good in here. At times it's very moody and calm, then at other times you see him manipulating people. You feel that the tone has really changed. If you look at it like two separate films, each part of it does a really great job of establishing its characters and its story. Thought it was all right the first time I saw it, but after watching it again just a few weeks ago, I really like it more. I think I would have this higher on my list last year if I watched it a couple more times. I did like it. I think it's a little too long, but still a great film. Coming in fourth place is Hellboy 2. This is a much better Hellboy film. It takes the world that was set up in that first Hellboy film and takes it to the extreme. The characters are more developed in here. The action is intense. The visuals are stunning. This is what I wanted from a Hellboy film. I enjoy that first film. The film is superior to that original Hellboy film. The villains are more interesting. The designs feel like they come from Del Toro. The stakes in here are high. There's a sense of urgency. It has a good look to it. I remember seeing it in theaters and being blown away by how good it was compared to that first film. Just the color of it, the style, the action, the rounded out characters. It feels like a Del Toro film. And it sucks we didn't get another Hellboy film by Del Toro with Ron Perlman, because they were a great combination. Instead, we got the one with David Harbour, which I have not seen yet, and I don't know if I want to. Coming in third place is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This is not the classic Pinocchio film. There's so many things that are different within here. Guillermo del Toro and Mark Gustafson really implement their own style in here. This is a stop motion animated film, and it's beautiful. There's so many good looking scenes within here. At times, Pinocchio is whimsical and heartwarming, but it is also very dark. There are several different subplots within the film that add to the development of Pinocchio and what it means to be a human. As Pinocchio's thrown into war, burned alive, shot at, he experiences war conditions and his idea about being a human, and it changes as he develops an understanding of love and loss. Ewan McGregor as Sebastian J. Cricket provides that really smooth narration to the film, and the young boy who voices Pinocchio handles the charming but curious side to Pinocchio. This film may not be for everybody. It has really dark themes that surround death and loss, and how Pinocchio is changing throughout the film and becoming more aware of what it means to be human, understanding his emotions and feelings within the film. It's also a musical. The musical moments are not memorable, but the film's themes and development for the character is what makes this film stand out as one of the best Pinocchio adaptations and one of the best films for 2022. Coming in second place is The Shape of Water. Look past a woman falling in love with a fish creature. This is a pretty sweet film, and you look at a woman who's struggling and she feels like she doesn't have a place in this world, and she immediately connects to this creature and they have this bond that runs deep. And the film is so beautiful. The imagery, the direction from Del Toro, it's deserving of its Best Picture award. And I fell in love with these characters. I fell in love with the story. It's truly a romance film by Del Toro. And so you have to kind of have some kind of creature aspect to it. I know it's a fish falling in love with a human, but y'all love Beauty and the Beast too. That's a beast falling in love with a woman. It's different, but there's a lot of similarities to it. Sally Hawkins gives a really good performance. You're able to understand her feelings and some genuine emotions and passion and how she connects with this creature and not be able to use a word. She has to rely on hand movements and gestures to convey her emotions, and she does such a great job in here. With Del Toro's direction, the visuals, this is a stunning film. But coming in first place is Pan's Labyrinth. This is a highly creative film with a layered story that you are so intrigued by. The visuals are stunning. Doug Jones in here, the makeup and design for his character is creepy at times, but so interesting to look at. The world is fully explored. The exposition in the beginning, you latch onto the story and you want to see where it goes. It feels very personal, but also dark at times. The world that is built within here and this young girl that explores it is fully realized in here, and using the practical effects in here to further the story is amazing from Del Toro. Magical moments in here are captivating, but you see that dark side of humanity and it just makes you so upset. The makeup, costume design is all stunning. It's dark at times, but you get that magical sense to it that makes you feel a little bit happy at times, but those dark moments overpower the film and it works. So there you guys have it, all 12 Guillermo del Toro films ranked worst to best. How would you rank them? Let me know in the comment section down below and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Just Watches Movies and you guys stay classy, YouTube.